Yesterday, at about 8:45 on this program, we did what we have done for the last 18 years, and that is we stepped aside and we went down to the former Ground Zero area, and we listened to family members of the fallen read the names. And yesterday, there was one of the people who was involved in the reading of the names. That man right there in the T-shirt, Nicholas Harris Jr., lost his mom, Frances. She was in the South Tower on 9/11. He actually worked in the South Tower, too, but was out of town on a business trip. And it's not just what he said, but it's that T-shirt that he's wearing. Do you see what it says? It says, "Some people did something," which is a very recognizable phrase.
Yeah, that is a reference to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar when she said this.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
Wow, and that really struck a raw nerve, especially with the 9/11 community and those who lost people. People couldn't understand how a sitting congresswoman can make a statement about that, diminishing what happened on 9/11. Here is Nicholas Harris Jr. Talking about why he wore the shirt.
Some people did something. Today I am here to respond to you exactly who did what to whom. Madam, objectively speaking, we know who and what was done. There is no uncertainty about that. Why your confusion? On that day, 19 Islamic terrorists, members of Al-Qaeda, killed over 3,000 people and caused billions of dollars of economic damage. Is that clear? We are here today, Congresswoman, to tell you and the squad just who did what to whom. Show respect in honoring them, please.
So Congresswoman Omar has said that her words were taken out of context yesterday. Congresswoman Tlaib also responded the words were out of context. Nonetheless, the man in the T-shirt was on with Sean last night and expanded on why he wore that shirt on that day.
Like all victims, family members of victims, we all hurt. And as we know, to some extent, 9/11, we say never forget, but it's dwindling down a bit.
Not for you.
I don't remember where I was when I first heard that quote, "Some people did something," but it tore my heart apart, and it tore my mom's heart apart with the thought that such a great loss to individuals could be so insensitively expressed, and that hurt.
Congresswoman Omar yesterday did post a video and talked about on 9/11. She was obviously 18 years younger. She thought the world was coming to an end.
Yeah, she said, we will never forget the thousands of Americans who lost their lives in the largest terror attack on U.S. soil. I will continue to fight to make sure we care for the first responders and families who lost loved ones on that day.
Yeah.
So,
well, she maybe should care more about fighting terrorism as well, because it's a twofold process.
Nonetheless, I mean, it was an extraordinary thing for somebody who was reading, one of the people who read the names, he was obviously doing the H's because his name is Harris, to become so political and take aim at a sitting member of Congress. What do you think about what he said as he wore that shirt with her quote on it, which she says was taken out of context? Email us, friends@foxnews.com.